Hi, I'm David, the co-creator of Yoric. Welcome to Yoric's cloud-based story development workflow. Thanks for watching this quick start guide. The presentation takes a little under 20 minutes, and by the end of it I will have you up and running on Yoric's cloud-based story development platform. We're going to start all the way at the beginning by creating an account. You do this on our home site at yoric.co. It is a completely cloud-based workflow. There is never anything to download, and everything about the system updates automatically. So you're going to enter your email address, create a password. There is no card required at sign up, and you can try it free for 30 days. Once you sign in, you're taken to Slate View. This is where you can see all of the projects that you are currently developing in Yoric. And the first time you sign in, you're going to have an example file, which is the first sequence of Toy Story, and this is the file we're going to be looking at today. So I'm going to double click here to open the file. Now once you click into a specific project, you're going to be taken to Beat View. This is a flexible visual notation system where you can quickly lay out narrative structure and composition. The Noble Beat is your main tool in Beat View. When you're composing beats in Yoric, think of your story as a series of moments. Beats consist of two components. There's the beat type and the beat resolution. Use the beat type to indicate the kind of moment and the general dramatic purpose it serves in the composition. And then there is the beat resolution. That is, where are you attempting to deliver the audience emotionally at the conclusion of this moment? Do you want the audience to be uplifted by what they've just seen and experienced, or do you want them to be fearful? I do a deep dive on beats, beat theory, the audience hope-fear cycle, and all of those heady topics in the video specifically on beat theory, but for now I want to get to the interface of how creators use Beat View. Now, in Beat View, there is this flexible visual notation system, and it does allow you to quickly lay out narrative structure and composition. But the flip side to that is how well Beat View can communicate story. Here, what used to be 23 pages of script that needed to be written, formatted, read, reviewed, commented on, and discussed before being moved through multiple analog stages, now can be communicated in a matter of seconds. And very importantly here, I just want to point you to the top right where you can see the guide. This is a full instruction book, introduction to beat theory and each individual beat type. It's full of great information, and there is nothing that I'm going to introduce in this video that isn't also in the guide. Now at the bottom of your screen is your beat palette. Each one of these individual beat types represents a general dramatic construct. Lift, anticipation, and relief are connected directly to hope. Drops, perils, and tragedy beats are connected directly to the audience's fears. A procedural beat is about a character's external or practical goal. Characters will attempt to proceed physically through the world, and when the beat resolves, it either moves the character closer or further away from that goal. Dramatic beats are by definition verbal rather than physical. Characters attempt to communicate and coordinate with and against each other. You use an emotion beat when you have a character who is being explicitly emotional. Anytime there is an explicit revelation of a character's inner desires. Commentary beats are used to explain the story world in some way. They function like a traditional Greek chorus, and it can be a person or a broadcast or newspaper. Any moment that functions to introduce or reintroduce the audience or the characters to pertinent information. Use a spectacle beat when the emphasis of the moment is visual or experimental in nature. Action sequences, musical numbers, title sequences, dream sequences, etc. are all great candidates for the spectacle beat. And all the way at the end of your palette is the undefined beat type. Use this for any type of moment that you have yet to define the dramatic construct for, or you need more specificity than the general palette allows. I also use it quite often as a spacer or as a notation system to myself on the Beat View. Okay, we are going to start by creating a new beat. You do this by dragging the individual beats from the palette and onto the beat line. setting the beat resolution, which indicates how you want the audience to respond emotionally at the conclusion of the moment, giving the beat a title to explain or editorialize the moment, and using the marker line to set structural demarcations of scene and act. To edit the information associated with a beat, click on it once. That beat's info appears in the bottom right. Click to edit and make your changes. To rearrange beats, simply drag a beat to the left or the right, and the other beats will move to accommodate. Back to the top right of the screen, we're going to look at each of these individual icons. Show hide title, exactly like it sounds. Sometimes in order to see what to do next or to find what is missing, I find it valuable to consider the abstract composition of moments that make up the narrative. There are two types of marker. There are scene markers and act markers. To create a scene or act marker, simply drag the type of marker you want onto the marker line. To destroy a marker, simply click on the X. Above that is your guide, and again, very useful, full of keyboard shortcuts, a full instruction booklet. Anytime you're stuck or you have a question, go to this guide. The answer is there, or it will spark something that moves you forward. Above that is your Add Character button. A universal Add Character button is important at this point because as you begin structuring your narrative, you are also beginning to conceive of the characters that will inhabit this story world. So you have that in your beat view as well. Next, we're going to be taking a look at icon script. If you look at the left side of your interface at the top, you'll see the Yoric logo, which will take you to Slate. The second button down is the beat view, and then followed by that is the button for icon script. You can either click there or double click on an individual beat to be taken to the corresponding place in icon script. Now, this should look like a more familiar script writing interface, but there are some key differences and advantages that I'd like to point out. In the icon script view, you have access to every level and layer of your content. The other views in Yoric are tailored for specific purposes, but in icon script, you can do everything necessary to create your story composition. In addition to your beats and being able to create new beats, you have 6 story content types and 3 production content types. Those individual types are dialogue, thought, action, text, sound, and setting. The production types are camera, FX, and editing. This allows creators a transformative level of precision, clarity, and accuracy within the moments of the story world by giving clear context to the content, which is properly script formatted automatically, letting you work natively inside the moments of your story. Now, while creating content inside the beats, it is important to know that a beat can be any length necessary. A story moment can be as long or as short as you need it. As you create content inside a beat, the beat will expand to accommodate. If you need to rearrange content, simply drag and drop. Now we are going to take a look at the buttons on the right of icon script, starting at the bottom. Collapse all. This is going to collapse all of your beats down in icon script. You can open an individual beat by double clicking, and you can rearrange the beats with a drag and a drop. Then you have your expand all button. It will expand all of the beats. Your assign locations, which I will get to in just a second. Your guide, and I want to yet again point out that in this guide, if you go to the keyboard shortcuts, this is all for icon script. If you know these shortcuts, you can create content extremely quickly. These offer a true power user experience where you can stay completely on your keyboard. When you're creating content, you'll notice the small character button inside. Click on it to add specific characters to the individual content. Simply type the character's name, click add, and save. I recommend doing both your character additions to content and your location cascades as you're completing scenes, doing it all at once, going from top to bottom and filling it out and finalizing it. Sketching as you go along is absolutely something good to do, knowing a location here, entering a character there. But going from top to bottom through a scene and making sure your character work and your location cascade information are both correct is imperative. Now, if we look at the Set Locations button, you'll see that checkboxes appear next to the content, and a Set Location and Cancel button appear at the top right. Yoric is the first story development platform where you create a location inside your story world, and that location understands its physical relationship to other locations inside that story world. Yoric location cascades can be nested up to 6 levels deep, with multiple child locations possible at each level, and you can create adjacent cascades inside your story world. And so looking here at the location track on the right, you can see that Andy's play space, which we've labeled as Cardboard Cowtown, is in Andy's room, which is upstairs in Andy's house, making for a 4-level deep location cascade. By being able to clearly indicate specifically where a piece of content has occurred inside the story world brings a new level of clarity to any production. To assign pieces of content to a specific location, simply check all applicable boxes, click Set Location, either choose the root location or create a new root location, and you can create multiple layers of new locations at the same time by putting a / between the titles of those new locations. Next, I'm going to show you the second way to create locations and location cascades, but before I do, I just want to point to the top left here in IconScript where you can see your act scene indicator. Wherever you are as you're working, that will be accurate. That updates automatically, so you always have a quick indicator as to where you are in the story. Now we are going to take a look at the second way to create locations in Yoric, which is here in Builder. And in Builder's location map, creators have a truly revolutionary drag and drop interface to physically lay out the locations of your story world. The system again allows for 6 levels of nested location, and when you add or make changes to location info, those changes are reflected throughout the project. Also in Builder, you have a full character list where you can see all the characters, their short descriptions, brief introduction to their backstories, and the ability to edit and delete. You also have a beat title list. Finally, in the workflow, we're going to look at Universe right here in between IconScript and Builder on the left. And in the Universe view, you're able to see the data inside your project inventoried and audited for quick infographic analysis. And that's why it's so important to go back and do thorough, detailed work in your location cascades and inside your character work, because the data, once it populates inside Universe, is really invaluable. There are 4 major ways to scope your data in Universe. The first one is characters by content. This is where you can see how much of the total content inside your story do each of the characters make up. The next one is contents by type, seeing each individual content type and how much of the overall composition do they make up. The next is beats by type, the individual types of beats. Finally, you have act and scenes by content, and if you click on that, you can see the individual acts and how much of the total content they make up. And within each individual act, each individual scene, and how much of the content it makes up inside its individual act. This is directly tied to the markers that you set in Beat View. Now, once you've truly completed your composition and you're ready to move to the next part of your workflow, you simply go to Slate, click the Export button, download the RTF file, which you can then upload onto any of the major script writing platforms. My name is David. I am the co-creator of Yoric. Thanks for watching and learning about our cloud-based story development platform. Now go out there and design great stories.